What is good, everyone? This is your host, Deanna Kemple with Label Free Podcast. Live your best life. You must live label free. Super excited. Woo! I'm super excited. I have an executive and a communication coach. He's a keynote speaker. He's the author of 4 books, including the best-selling Speak with No Fear, which has appeared on numerous book lists, even getting designated as the #1 book on overcoming fear of speaking on Forbes.com. Please welcome Mike Acker joining us from the Gulf Coast. Mike, thank you.
Deanna, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to this, diving in here, and love that we get to talk, love that we get to connect across states. And I really believe that for your listeners today, for your audience today, we have some stuff that is going to help them live even more label free.
Yes, I love that. So I typically ask my guests to please introduce themselves, but we've already done the introduction. So can you tell us a little bit about your background and just how we can dive into, an author of 4 books, that's a lot. We already had a conversation about that.
Yeah, right. Well, actually, that goes back to, it goes back to when my dad was in 8th grade and thought, I want to be a novelist, so I'm going to live an interesting life. An interesting life he did by becoming a drug dealer when he was in the 60s and 70s. He married my mom, so she joined him in this drug dealing adventure. He actually wrote a book about this, Deanna, called Pirates, Scoundrels, and Saints, and actually it's on my bookshelf. When I read it, I thought, every single person is my dad. Every single person. I felt like I knew my dad more. Yeah. So book writing goes back to him because he was always writing. He's kept a journal since I was a kid.
Wow.
He made a radical life transition and became a Christian when I was like 5 years old or 4 years old. And not like a church-going political Christian, but like let's save the world. So we went and did stuff in Philippines in the dumps. We took care of people in the nursing homes, went to the projects. We did all kinds of stuff. Moved to Mexico when I was 10. I got to see all this stuff. Here I was advancing in my own life, learning how to overcome a speech impediment, learning how to speak a different language and present in front of people. So along with his experiences, I was accumulating my own experiences. Then I moved back to the United States, went to college, and in college, I had one of those conversations, you know what I'm talking about, which just change your life.
Yes.
Where people see something in you that you don't see. And I had a couple back to back, ultimately in terms of their ability to see in me something I did not have the ability to see, that I could communicate and speak and influence people. So I ended up getting in a debate club, ended up speaking to camps, ended up speaking to senior citizens that I used to visit when I was a kid, and ultimately embarked in a good 18 years of speaking, training, managing, leading, then took a break. In fact, I'm wearing the shirt that I took a break to go do. It's my Patterson Veterinary. I needed a break from leading and speaking, and I went and got recruited to do sales. Loved it. Fantastic company. Was able to serve lots of doctors and ultimately their patients, which are dogs and cats.
Oh, I love that.
That got to be fun. But I never stopped doing some of what I was doing.
Sure.
And I was always coaching. And it was during that transition where I was going away from that, away from leading teams, away from managing large groups, away from speaking all the time, that I had a conversation with a client, and she said, I need your help to overcome my fear of speaking. And we talked, and she said, how about this? What if we trade services? I'll help you write a book or whatever you think. I'll coach you through that, whatever you need, and you help me get ready for this big event I have to speak at. So after thinking about it a while, I said, sure. She was uber successful author, Rachel Richards, over 1,000 reviews, kind of like a who's who on financial stuff now. And she retired at 27. So she's just really sharp, really sharp.
Amazing.
Amazing. And I know, I'm like, wow, where were you when I was 20?
Yeah, so many people are just hearing that story. It's just like, it's possible. It's possible.
It's possible. And she still does stuff because she defines retirement as making more than you need to from passive income to live off of.
Yes.
So they retired in that sense. And so she and her husband just are now traveling and stuff, and we stay in contact. But she encouraged me to write a book. So I took that life of history, my dad's experience of writing, my dad's experience of encouraging, my dad's experience of giving to others, my own experiences of overcoming different things and put it together in a book called Speak with No Fear. And after about 3-4 months, it took off. And all of a sudden it was selling over 10,000 copies within the first year, which is always a benchmark. Publishers were reaching out to me trying to buy the rights to my book. It's been translated into other languages. It's got 550 reviews. I just released a second edition. It's got a workbook. It's got a course that I do now. So that's what led it to me, is a life of doing it.
Yeah.
Led me to ability to write it.
Yeah. I love it. I mean, I think that speaking with no fear is almost kind of like having no labels, right? You know, just kind of living authentically and breaking out, because I feel like people live in their safe space, you know? And so like to speak with no fear is, I mean, I'm very interested. So can you talk a little bit about the book and how that helps people achieve that?
Right. I think actually one of the areas, so I walk through 7 different strategies, and one of the different areas is extremely relevant to your podcast, Label Free. So out of the 7 strategies, one is called You Be You. And the whole idea is that often when we speak, we're actually trying to be someone else.
For sure.
And in fact, right before this, I was working with a professional in a great role, speaking to all these people, overseeing all these people, and we talked about this. And so this is really relevant to what I just did this morning already, that we have a way that we see ourselves over here, but then there's a way that we think we should be seen over here.
Yes.
And this is in case of one military officer. She called me and said, I want to get better at my speaking. And I said, well, what do you want to do? She starts talking. I said, okay, well, tell me who you want to be like. And I was setting her up for a trap. And she goes, well, you know, when I was a young private, this person comes in and I said, well, tell me about him. And, well, he's older and he's this big guy, he's a very muscular guy. And he comes in with a booming voice and he commands. I said, oh, that sounds fantastic. And so she has this idea of what this guy communicates like. And I said, tell me about yourself. And she goes, well, you know, I'm like this, and I'm vivacious, and you know, different race, different gender, different body type, different sound of voice. And yet she wanted to put on the label of a booming, commanding communicator. And I said, you know, it's going to be very hard for you to be like him.
Right. Right.
It's going to be very hard. You'll be a poor imitation of him instead of being a great version of yourself.
Ooh,
so let's work on you being you, and not putting an external label that you have to be like this or like that. Instead, let's work on you being an incredible, awesome, amazing you.
I love that. So do you find the people that you work with, they kind of have, is that pretty common where they're trying to be like someone else? See, if you asked me that question, there is no one I'm trying to be like.
Yeah.
I'm probably almost too authentic most of the time. Like my mom tells me, Deanna, you wear your heart on your sleeve. If you get mad, we know you're mad. I'm like, well, I'm going to get mad and you're going to know, and then it'll be done.
Right. Well, and that probably comes out in every type of communication that you do.
Yes.
So you are you, and you are you as a communicator. In terms of corporate America, professionals, yes, almost always. They're trying to be like their mentor. They're trying to be like how they think they should be. They're trying to be like everyone else. They're trying to be the way that, and it goes on and on and on. For example, one lady starts working with me and she says, you know, I need to change. I said, okay, well, tell me about that. And she said, everybody I work with is calm, cool, and collected. And I'm not. So I need you to help me become calm, cool, and collected. And I said, those are some big labels. So we unpacked the labels and we unpacked those descriptions of what she thought. And I said, well, tell me about yourself. And she starts talking about herself. And I said, do you see the difference?
Yeah.
You're not like them. So you're not talking like them because you're not like them. And so every time you try to be like them, you know you're not. And it's causing this emotional distortion of what you are.
Yeah.
And ultimately, you should be you. And then here's the other part of it. You should be that best version of you. So I love using Hitch. You know the movie with Will Smith?
Yeah. Love that.
So I tell this, and it's in my book. And so Hitch goes in and he grabs these guys that are awesome on the heart. You know, they're good guys.
Right.
They're not jerks. They're good guys. And he helps them stand out to get noticed by these beautiful girls that are way beyond their class physically. And so he takes this one guy into like a Nordstrom type place, and he has the guy buy these shoes. And the guy goes, I don't know, these just aren't me. And he goes, you look good in these shoes. You bought these shoes. Use a flexible concept.
Right.
So what he does is he doesn't change the heart, but he changes the way that the heart comes out. Ooh. And again, what I like to do with people and what I want to see people do is really understand who you are, but improve your ability to communicate it. Yeah. So if you're on stage and you're not meeting eye contact, or you're not using pauses, and you're using lots of fillers, and you're not using energy and enthusiasm, those are things that you can improve no matter what type of person you are. Yeah. However, don't try to be someone else. And all of a sudden now I'm over here and I'm just this. No, that's ridiculous. Don't try to be someone else. Or if you're not like Deanna, don't try to be Deanna with wearing heart on the sleeve. Yeah. And if you're not the person who throws in witty remarks, don't fake it.
Right.
Do what you do well. Get the words out there. Get your message out there. Do all the things skillfully, but do it skillfully as you.
Today's episode is brought to you by Honey Love. Ladies, let's talk about shapewear. We all know most shapewear makes you feel like you're being suffocated. That sexy dress in the back of your closet is so freaking cute, but the thought of having your inside squished by your shapewear is just not worth it. That's why Honey Love spent years researching and developing effective shapewear that's actually comfortable. Overly tight, cheap, and sticky fabrics that roll up are a thing of the past. Thanks to Honey Love, you can finally feel confident and comfortable in your favorite outfits. We have an exclusive deal for our listeners. For a limited time only, you can get Honey Love's best deal they offer. Get 20% off your entire order with the code LABELFREE20 at honeylove.com. That's right, ladies. Get 20% off of your entire order with LABELFREE20 at honeylove.com. But I love that. I think that's a really healthy way to people maybe to navigate that for themselves and figure out where they can improve.
Yeah, absolutely. And everybody can improve. And also people can be more true to themselves. And so it's not either or, it's both and. Another area that I walk through that's so relevant in the book is that it's not about you. One of the reasons why we are insecure leaders, insecure professionals, insecure business owners, insecure speakers, insecure in so many areas of life is because we're thinking, what do they think about me?
Yeah.
So if you go back to those middle school years, remember those middle school years, and you go into those dance halls, they don't do this nowadays. Nowadays they have like blow ups and stuff because they realize that 8th graders don't want to dance. But in 8th grade, they would pull all the boys and all the girls go into the room, and all the girls would travel with themselves and all the boys would travel with themselves. And they'd come into the room and all the guys would be on this side of the room and all the girls would be on this side of the room and no one would dance. And why? It's because you go into the room and every single time you walk in, you're thinking this. What do people think about me? What do people think about me? What do people think about me?
Especially at that age.
Especially at that age. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, I realized when I was in that age with my friend, no one is thinking about me because they're too busy thinking about themselves.
Yeah. Ooh, that's a good one.
So my buddy and I, we start going out and we start dancing with the girls. And we lived in Mexico. And so we did the quinceañeras and we're doing the dances. And so we started getting invited to parties, the quinceañeras, simply because everybody knew that we had no embarrassment to dance with the girls. We were thinking about them. I don't want to be dancing out there alone. I wouldn't want to if I was her. Let me go dance with her. Of course, we were also thinking because they're pretty girls. So let's go dance with the pretty girls. And if you take that same mentality into professional communication, not as an 8th grader, but as a whatever old person you are, and you think, this isn't about me. Yeah. The people don't care what I look like. They don't care what I smell like. Well, they do. They don't care what I do as long as I can get the point across to them and help them.
Yeah.
See, right now, none of your listeners are thinking about Mike Acker.
Right.
They're only thinking about Mike Acker insofar as I can help them.
Sure. Yeah.
They're not going, man, his gray hair looks like it's increased in the last couple of years. And is he balding? And his eyebrows are really, really light. Maybe he should do something about his eyebrows.
Oh
Those lips are kind of, nobody's thinking about that. Now they're thinking about it.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
But what they're thinking about is,
it works well on you though. You got it going on. So no, I wouldn't worry about it.
And I'm not. But here's the funny thing is they're thinking, I want to tune into Label Free Podcast, and I hope that someone can give me something that entertains me, interests me, inspires me, educates me, helps me. So an audience member, whether it's your team,
Yeah.
whether it's the executives, whether it's a room at a comedy club, whether it's podcast listeners, the audience members are always there for themselves.
Yeah.
And that's not bad.
No. Mm-mm.
It's not bad. But what that does for the speaker is it helps the speaker, or should help the speaker, go, oh, you mean you're not critiquing everything I do? You mean you're not worried if I do something that gets in the way for a moment, as long as I get the point across? Yeah. You mean what you really want for me is to help you, educate you, entertain you, inspire you? Oh, okay. Well, then who cares about all this other stuff that I was worried about, what people think about me? Let me just help them.
Yeah. It took me a long time to get over that self-talk, like, oh crap, if I don't talk perfectly, if I don't look perfect, like, oh my gosh, they're gonna blah, 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 blah. And I was like, they don't care about that. All they care is that I show up, I be myself, I talk to my incredible guests, and I bring them some value. That's all they care about. And if I look good in the process, then hey, that's a bonus.
Right. And that's the whole part of don't be distracting, right? So that's what the smell actually does matter if it's in person. Or if I come in here and I'm waving my arms wildly and you can't even watch it because it's just so distracting. That's one thing. Sure. So don't be distracting, but don't be worried, because generally people are not looking at you as closely as you're looking at yourself.
This is very true. Oh my gosh, I can't believe we've almost been talking for 20 minutes already. That's amazing. I could keep talking to you. So we might have to do a part 2, because you're coming out with the 5th book, right?
Yeah, I come out with a 5th book, and I actually have a couple workbooks out there too. But the 5th book is Connect Through Emotional Intelligence. And here's what I realized, Deanna, was ultimately people, when they're leading and when they're speaking, you're in the business of connecting.
Yes.
So how do you connect? And what a lot of people don't realize is that it's not content transfer, it's connection. Yes. And so if you don't have connection, the content can't get across. It's the bridge through which it crosses. And so we got to connect before we get content over. A lot of people just throw the content out there and hope it hits. But ultimately, you got to be able to have that connection. So as I started studying it, and I had done another book with a person who's just a genius on emotional intelligence, and he inspired me. So I did my own study and researched it and thought, you know what? This is a vehicle of connection.
Yeah.
It's not just a vehicle of whatever else. It's a vehicle of connection. And so I wrote it, and we're just in the final phases, and it's going out there. We actually looked at a traditional publisher, but I love the freedom that it does when I publish through a small imprint instead.
That's awesome. And I agree with you. I love to connect with people, and not everybody is able to do that. When I meet someone and I'm not able to connect with them and just kind of be able to have that good conversation, it's like throws me off. I'm like, whoa, but you feel that energy, you know what I mean? Like when you meet someone, right. We connect, we're having great conversation. We can keep talking. We've connected through Zoom here, and it's amazing. It's amazing. And that is definitely a skill, and it's an important skill, especially this day and age when we've been so separated this last year. I think that it's really important to kind of realize how healthy it is to connect with other humans, even if it is through the screen, because it's important. It's important.
Yeah.
You're not going to get your message across if you're not connecting.
You're right. And you're not going to get where you want to go. And really, ultimately, here's what I found out when I studied it. The emotional intelligence is the #1 highest predictor of success.
Ooh, interesting.
So it's not IQ.
Yeah.
And it's not aptitude. It's not experience. It's not education. It's emotional intelligence. So this is why you have someone who has emotional intelligence and they're able to go in places. And now I'm growing in emotional intelligence, so I'm not going to say like, look at me, be like me.
That is a lifelong process. Like we're always growing and developing ourselves. I mean, and once you stop growing, like that's it, you're done.
Right. And it's a lifelong progress. It's kind of like a roller coaster that's going up, hopefully. So you go up and you go down and you go up and down. And sometimes you're better in emotional intelligence with certain groups of people, and then other places you're not as good. But even when I go back to my whole story of looking to maybe career change, I was with some friends and I said, I'm just thinking about doing something different. And the guy who was working at Patterson Veterinary, he said, I'd hire you in a heartbeat. And it was ultimately because of the EI. I didn't have the education in it. I didn't have the background in it. In fact, when the recruiter called me afterwards to do the vetting, she said to my manager, he said, this guy doesn't know the industry. He doesn't have any education in the industry. He doesn't know veterinary anything. He doesn't have animals. He doesn't have anything, but he's your best candidate out of a nationwide search. So that's one of my good examples of emotional intelligence. I could tell you some bad ones. I don't want to, but I could. But here's the deal on emotional.
Gotta get the book.
On the EI, just pursue it because you're more likely to succeed as you pursue it.
I agree. I love that. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to have you back. Where can people find you, follow you, your book, all that? Please plug all your links.
Yeah. So I'm all over the place. If you look up Mike Acker, A-C-K-E-R, kind of like tracker. So Mike Acker, you'll find me on Google. You'll find me all over Amazon. My name is a keyword for other authors on public speaking. So people are sponsoring their ads using Mike Acker as a keyword, which is really cool. It also means that it's really easy to find me on my websites and my business website or mikeacker.com. So you can find me at mikeacker.com. Would love to connect. Would love to hear that. I got social media as well. I have a YouTube as well. I have different things as well. But mikeacker.com is a starting point for everything.
And I'll put all those links in the description and the show notes so that you can follow him, reach out to him, get his book, all that good stuff. Before we say goodbye, Mike, which I don't want to because I'm loving this conversation, do you have any last words of wisdom or advice that you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yeah, where you are is not where you have to be. So if you find yourself in a place of insecurity, lacking confidence, just because that's where you are doesn't need to be where you have to stay. So perhaps you're stuck in your career. Perhaps you're stuck in some other area of life. Where you are is not where you have to stay. Make the choices today to get to be where you want to go.
Woo! See, now look. I'm gonna start crying. Those are good tears, though. They're not bad tears, all good things. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for being a guest, Mike. You're welcome back anytime. I can't wait to hear about I might have to pick up this book, Speak with No Fear. Although I would just want to read it because I like it. I don't really worry about But it's always good to, to educate yourself, and to, reading is very important for your development. So, but thank you. And I look forward to talking with you again and hearing about your fifth book and sixth, seventh, eighth, whatever, because you're going to keep going, I'm sure.
Yep. There's more in me.
That's right. Very good. All right, you guys, this is your host, Deanna Kemple with Label Free Podcast. To live your best life, you must live label free. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, follow, all those good things. And I'll be back soon with more dynamic guests.